Hello and welcome to Sansad TV. You're watching Discussion Today with the host RAJAT KAIN. Well, today it's World Water Day. Today is a day when we all remember how important is water, how important it's to conserve it and what it entails for our lives and generations to come. Today, Prime Minister Modi launched a campaign, Jal Shakti Abhiyan, catch the rain where it falls and when it falls. It will be launched as Jan Andolan to take water conservation at grassroots level through people's participation. It's intended to nudge all stakeholders to create rainwater harvesting structures suitable to climate conditions and subsoil strata to ensure proper storage of rainwater. Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu also urged Member of Parliament in Rajya Sabha this morning to take lead in conserving water and be a role model for general public. So how important is it to conserve water and what this day holds significance to all of us? Discuss more on this issue with joint panel of two guests, Mr. Syamal, Kumar, Sarkar. He is a Senior Director from TERI, and we are joined with Jyoti Sharma. She is President Force NGO. Many thanks for joining us. Let me start with you, Dr. Sarkar. We have seen there have been campaigns from several public, there have been campaigns from celebrities, and now it's no less than Prime Minister has, he has launched a campaign.
Only 50% of the water, domestic water is treated, and it is used only 10%. Okay. So that means the water which is now discharged after the use, unless you reuse the water, you cannot save the water. So saving of the water means that the reuse of the treated water. Mm-hmm. Second point is that if you don't treat the water, it spoils it. The quality of the water, the groundwater gets destroyed, and the water is not safe for use.
Okay.
So the treatment of the water is very important if you want to use treated water in a very big way. So saving water is one of the mechanisms is to treating the used water for reuse purposes through secondary treatment, tertiary treatment, etc., etc.
Right, right.
Now, this mechanism is not only available in the domestic sector, but also industrial sector also. In industry, the reuse of the water, the scheme of the thing is the zero liquid discharge.
Okay.
That concept which was introduced is about the agricultural sector. In agriculture, the agricultural water use efficiency is only 38%. Only 38%. So that means 62% water you are overusing the water in irrigation sector. So unless you save those water, you cannot treat the water in a very bigger way. So that means that our new scheme of things like Make in India program, like Har Ghar Jal program, you require more water. But unless you save the water in other sector, you cannot use the water in the domestic sector. So that saving of the water is very important policy-wise, is very important stakeholder participation-wise, is very important from the water manager's perspective, etc.
Right, Dr. Sarkar. That's important. Treatment of water is also of, it gains significance on its own. Jyoti, what is a reason perhaps, as Doctor mentioned, that very less quantity of water gets treated? Is it too much of a pressure, or to say urban pressure, or is it more like, it's only urban phenomena that we see lack of treatment of water?
Okay. On the contrary, I would say at least some water gets treated in urban areas.
Right.
In rural areas, most of it goes untreated. The reason is, I think, mostly financial. It's a very, very expensive activity to transport wastewater from homes to centralized treatment plants.
Okay.
Because you have to lay the entire sewer system, and then you have to make these water treatment plants, and then those plants have to be run and managed. So it's a huge cost. So for example, I remember that a few years back, Delhi Jal Board had prepared a master plan, a sewage master plan for Delhi, and the minimum investment it required, even all those years back, was 20,000 crores.
Okay.
Just making seawards for all of Delhi. So the major reason is basically a cost reason. There's a secondary reason also. In most of our cities, and actually also rural areas, the growth, the habitations are unplanned. So, for example, Delhi has only about 27 to 28%, which is planned growth. The rest is unplanned growth that has happened, and over the years we try and regularize them. So, therefore, the city infrastructure planning is not commensurate with the number of people who are living here, and so that becomes a problem. Now, there are solutions to this too. So, for example, non-profits have been advocating decentralized wastewater treatment systems, have been advocating locality level waste treatment systems. So, so there are ways out of it, but that requires a paradigm shift in terms of planning. It requires a city to start thinking in terms of self-sufficiency. I mean, the motivation has to be that our city will become self-sufficient. Now, when they start thinking like that, then they will find ways to recycle every drop of wastewater and reuse it locally without the added costs, transportation, and making large treatment plants. So, so those are the reasons for recycling not happening the way it should.
Jyoti, before I move off to Dr. Sarkar, just one question to you. Since you are involved in the NGO sector, how much of the local bodies, so be it at the level of municipalities or the panchayat, block development, you've seen they are eager or to say extremely, enthusiastic about this drive to conserve water, to be self-reliant, at the same time not to have wastage of water? Yeah.
Well, it is true that the focus does not seem to be very much on water conservation. I'm not so. I mean, at some level, I try and understand. I feel that we are a country where people are still struggling to get enough water, and so therefore the municipalities and utilities tend to focus more on making sure that everybody gets water rather than think about sustainability. But like I said, that's no excuse. I think I'm extremely proud of the fact that we have a prime minister who understood that it is important to make sure that there is har ghar mein nal ho aur us nal mein jal ho, but he gave equal importance to the fact that water conservation needs to be done, because he knows that you can bring water to a tap once, but for it to come every day of every year, water conservation has to happen. So to answer your question, no, I do not see as much emphasis on water conservation as I would like to see. I do understand their compulsions, but that cannot be an excuse any longer, because we're heading into a very dangerous situation.
Right. Thanks, Jyoti. Yes, Dr. Sarkar, your opinion in terms of local bodies, in terms of municipalities, or to say panchayat and block development in semi-urban and in rural areas. I mean, how much of enthusiasm is seen in these sectors so as to conserve water? Dr. Sarkar.
You see, one of the reasons is that, as you know, that the water is a state subject.
Okay.
And the Constitution of India says that under Article 243 that the state should delegate the water management and sanitation to the local bodies and panchayat. But many state governments, they have not done it. So if you don't do it, the lowest rung of the water administration, they are not aware of their responsibilities and the accountability. So if the accountability is not given, if the responsibility is not given, we cannot expect the enthusiasm, as the other panel member has spoken, that why we are not seeing the much enthusiasm compared to the political commitment at the highest level, the Prime Minister level. Why we are not seeing the same kind of commitment at the state political machinery or the panchayat machinery or the local bodies machinery? That is because the understanding that the delegation of the water management should be handed over to the local bodies has not percolated down. So this is one of the reasons why it's not happening today in the rural areas.
Yes, Jyoti. Yeah, please, please.
I'd like to add something to it.
Sure.
We tend to blame the government for anything, but in all my years of working for water, I have not found people protesting and saying that please focus on making sure that our water table doesn't go down. I see a lot of people fighting and saying we don't have enough water, we need more water, we need taps in every home. But not very many people get up and start fighting and saying that make sure that the river remains clean. Make sure that our water table has gone down by 1 meter. Please do something about it.
Right, right. That's important. Dr. Sarkar, do you also agree that in popular discourse, the question about water conservation or conservation of natural resources perhaps is not that resonant as we often see with other issues?
Absolutely. And that is the initiative that our Prime Minister has taken has tremendous value because he's brought it to the forefront of people's minds. And I hope that now people will start to demand water conservation as much as they demand water for usage at home.
Right, right. Jyoti, thank you. Yes, Dr. Sarkar, sir, your views on it, sir.
Yes, actually, the water is like air and water, water is a subject which is critical for life. But the understanding that the water has to be saved and the water is precious, the water has a value, which is not percolated to the extent it is required in the water sector. Wherever it has done, people understand. For example, even in the debate in the national newspaper, how many paper they write? They wrote today about the World Water Day today. Today is the World Water Day, 22nd of March, and the theme of the water day is the values of water. It has not only value in the economic value, it has non-economic value, like religious connotation, it has the economical connotation, it has the environmental connotation, it has the societal connotation. So everything has a value. But not many of us, we understand the value of water in the right perspective. For example, the water value in the semi-arid region of the country in India is much more than the value of water in a water abundant state.
Right, absolutely.
So the value of water is extremely essential to understand, and accordingly one should save water, one should conserve water in our context. That value we have not been able to percolate till now to the lowest rank of the administration in the water sector. So this is an irony of the fact that although we are using so much money in the water sector, but the understanding, the awareness, the understanding of the fact that the water has value and it has to be respected has not gone that well to the lowest rank of the administration. So this is an irony of the fact.
Yeah, that's extremely important, Dr. Sarkar. You have raised a very, very valid and extremely important point. Jyoti, so do you agree that when it comes to valuing the water, evaluating, its importance, we say for a phrase, Jal Jeevan hai, but at the same time, perhaps the awareness of saving water is not at the scale which now we see, okay, let's save electricity, let's save fuel. But with water, we still, you perhaps have this mentality of, chalo, pani ki tarah baha dete hain isko. Is it so?
Absolutely. I think हर व्यक्ति सोचता है कि जल पाना उसका अधिकार है, पर उस जल के प्रति उसकी जो जिम्मेवारी है, वो बहुत कम लोग समझते हैं. And so that is the problem.
Okay.
And unless, and I'm sure that this kind of movement will apprise people of the importance of remembering that if they have a right, they also have a responsibility towards water.
Absolutely. Dr. Sarkar, just your last question as we move towards end of the show. Sir, as now we have Prime Minister of the country, we have Vice President of the country urging people, citizens, even Member of Parliament, ministers to be role models, to take lead in conserving water. Now, is there a hope, or to say, would now be a definite moment where change in terms of understanding significance of water and water conservation will perhaps take a shape? Sir.
there is a big hope, because the political commitment at the highest level is there now. Now,
Right.
it has to be percolated down below to the state, to the local bodies, to the local beneficiaries. So there is a big hope. If the Prime Minister says that the Har Ghar Jal is a program by 2024, and it is being implemented in that respect, in that aspects. So if the understanding at the topmost level is very high,
Right.
I have a firm belief that it will percolate down with the same enthusiasm in the near future. And because this is very important, the value of water has to be understood. Otherwise, there is a big problem for all of us in the coming years. Thank you.
Absolutely, that's very important for flagging this off. Many thanks, Dr. Sarkar, for joining us, and many thanks, Jyoti Sharma, for joining us, and of course, elucidating on this extremely important topic which governs larger part of our livelihood and essential part of our life. Well, that's it in this edition of Discussion Today. Before we leave, a small appeal to all of us: please save water. Well, that's it for now. Thank you. Goodbye.